Hello, Raising Vibrations community. This is Simon speaking, and welcome to the full moon in Gemini. This is for the 12th of December 2019, and depending on where you are in the world, the time will vary, but this is the full moon in Gemini report. So, looking forward to sharing with you some of my thoughts, some of the feelings and processes that have been going on between myself and Jen, and what we've considered to be important points to focus on. And it's kind of inspiring us a little bit about what we can do with this energy and what it may suggest to us in terms of the process of this ongoing evolutionary journey that we're on at the moment. So just a couple of things to get out the way before we jump into this channel and to see what's going to come through me. If you prefer to read an article, the article will actually be posted in the description in the comments below, so to our website, and you can go and read what we have written. If you want to listen to this and read it, then that is available to you as well. I just want to give a huge shout out to all of the Patreons for continuing to support Raising Vibrations, for allowing videos like this to exist, and for giving us the space to be able to be deeply creative and to ultimately serve you in terms of the process of what it means to be human at this point in time. So thank you very much to all of our Patreon subscribers. And if you are interested in knowing what our Patreon membership is all about, our community, I'll post a link in the description below, and you can go check out what we do and what we offer there and how we run the show. Okay, fantastic. So full moon in Gemini. So this picture was actually chosen by Jen, and I am in awe of it because there's just so much symbolically. It just speaks so much to the message that feels so right at the moment for all of us, I'm sure. What's kind of coursing through our veins at the moment, what the neutrinos are bringing through from the sun and impacting us here and awakening our cellular DNA. So I'm going to start off with just talking a little bit about the nature of course, the moon cycle. It's really important that we come into contact with the depth of what the lunar cycles represent to us. What are they teaching us about the natural law of this life? Life is about cycles, and there are phases within these cycles. And some of these cycles will represent to us not knowing. This is like the new moon, right? Something that's fresh, something that's new for us. And it needs us to invoke a sense of curiosity, to feel open to what is the potential for things that are coming into our life, and to give us space enough to experience anxiety of separation. Like we want to feel comfortable with what we know, but we don't. And so we tend to stay connected to things or stuck in patterns because it keeps us safe, but it never offers us the opportunity to really expand and grow. And this is for all of us, including me. So I like the symbol of the moon over there because it reminds us of the consistent cycles that we go through and the phases that we need to embrace in our lives, different phases. We're all in different phases in our lives. And this is a very profound Capricorn Cancer teaching. We all have our own time, and as one of my good friends, Philip Daniel Miles, when he talks on the most recent podcast we did, the moments. Where are you in this moment? Good moments. And I loved it so much because it really honors the truth of Capricorn. We've got Venus there, we've got Saturn, we've got the South Node, Jupiter's just entered it, Pluto's been there since 2007. We've really got to understand that a lot of this energy, a lot of the work that we're dealing with right now, a lot of the energy that's moving through us and we're seeing in the collective sphere, it's a process of breaking down paradigms. It's about breaking down limitations and walls and defenses and structures that hold us in a sense of safety and security. And one of those structures and one of those ways in which we lived, Capricorn was very much a masculine force. It was like, who are you in the world? How do you identify in the world? but it's not. It is an aspect of our reality, but it's not the essence of it. The essence of Capricorn is to reflect us the nature of time. Where are we in time? And the lunar phases reveals to us in a very deep and symbolic way, in a very feminine way, a very yin way, understanding life as a cyclical process, that there are moments when we are joyful, there are moments when we're ecstatic, there are moments when we're feeling sad and isolated. And all of those experiences are really, really important to acknowledge and know, because it teaches us, it's a language of the soul. It tells us where we are in the moment. And if we can be really honest and true with ourselves and be very present with that, then we're giving ourselves a tremendous amount of understanding about what it means to communicate to the soul. And I'll show you a bit later on the actual chart that, Scorpio in the natural zodiac, it makes a 150-degree angle to Gemini. Capricorn makes a 150-degree angle to Gemini. These are called inconjuncts, and they're blind spots. And we've got a full moon in Gemini, and what that means is that naturally Capricorn and Scorpio are going to come into focus. And you've got superficial conversation, and then you've got deep conversation. And how do we get into deep conversation? We have to ask very penetrating questions. And think about it, Scorpio is all about uncovering things. And what do you need to uncover something? You need to peel away the layer of protection. You need to peel away the Capricorn container of protection and defense. And this is another profound teaching about Capricorn. It's where we are, in a sense, held together. And this picture, there's a mountain over here. And the mountain speaks to this Capricorn process of maturation, where we step into getting in contact with ourselves, getting in contact with where we are in this moment right now. Where are you in this moment? And how many times a day do you ask yourself that question? Where am I in this moment? Just spend like 2 minutes just reminding yourself of where you are, getting centered to the moment that you're in right now and what you're feeling, what is your body telling you, so that idea of communication that's more intuitive, that's coming from the depths of your being, flashes in your psyche, flashes in your visual cortex, and you can get a sense of your truth in this present moment. Because we're so much in our heads, we're so much in the process of thinking, rational thought, and it's good to be there in the sense of observing reality in an objective way. But one of the things that we need to really, really come into is the connection between the soul and the mind in a way that's where we can actually channel our truth. And this is so much about this Gemini experience again. And if you notice here on the imagery, you'll see that there's two people and they're kind of joined there. And I see this as this moon squaring Neptune, sun squaring Neptune, where everything's blended together in this very abstract Salvador Dali type of esque painting of, fluidness and illusion and meaning and mystic. And the two people joining together, and we're joining in communion, we're joining in a sense of connection, of where we are in the cycle. And the mountain represents the place of our castle, the place of our sanctuary, the place of what is our presence in that way. And there's always a constant communication between our inner world and our outer world. And of course, it's very important to be able to step into that space. So I love this imagery so much. It speaks volumes to me in terms of the teaching of this energy that's alive with us in the moment. So let me just get the chart up, and hi everybody. So let's kind of come back to this space. All right, so here's the Mars in Scorpio sitting there. It's making a trine to Neptune at 15 degrees. Both are 15 degrees on this full moon. And that's an important thing to grasp. It's an important thing to understand that trine is manifesting itself in two ways. This is a process of, really feeling into the depths of your own being and exploring that, and really getting into self-inquiry and getting in touch with your truth. This full moon is so much about, what does your voice have to say? What is your inner truth? When you speak, do you speak with conviction? Do you speak with confidence? Do you speak with adultness? You know, do you feel that you're solid in your space, or are you still harboring feelings of saying something and then feeling ashamed, or saying something that might, you know, be considered stupid, as an example? And this trine between Scorpio and Neptune, Mars and Neptune over here, you know, mechanically speaking, it's just an archetype that allows us to transcend our boundaries. You know, Mars wants to push the boundary. It wants to take the Mars energy and it wants to cut through like that. It just wants to break the boundary. And Neptune is allowing us to feel into what that's about. You know, feel into the experience of breaking all the defense mechanisms, all the conditioning that we've experienced that shut us down from allowing our voice to have resonance. You know, when you speak with conviction, there's an impact, and people feel you, and you know, there's a sense of seriousness that comes along with it. You know, you can take this person, they know what they're talking about, and you know, just feel into where you've had experiences in your life that have stopped you from you know, honoring what's real for you, honoring what's true for you. And if it's something that you need to say that's not said, then it needs to come out. You know, and spend time with just really getting deep into the process. This is a deep diving process for us with that trine. It's very supportive at the moment. Now, when you look at the Capricorn energy over here of Pluto, Venus, as you can see, Venus is in evolutionary astrology, it's called a new phase relationship. So I'm recording this on the 11th of December, and so this energy will, Saturn and Venus will have just made the conjunction. And what this represents to us, you know, there's many layers to it, but what I feel called to speak about this energy is when we had the new moon with the sun in Sagittarius, the moon in Sagittarius, just before the new moon, we had Jupiter making a conjunction to Venus, and this was new phase on the galactic center. And then, of course, Venus moved across into Capricorn, Jupiter entered Capricorn, and now we have Venus making a conjunction to Saturn. And you'll notice that Jupiter and Saturn will actually make a conjunction towards each other at the end of next year, and this is a really big cycle for us, you know, coined the Great Conjunction. So there's a lot of significance in terms of our relationship to how we begin to manifest our truth into the world, and how we give presence to what we hold as our convictions. And as I was talking to somebody earlier today, I was like, one of the things that's really, really important for us is that in order to know your truth, in order to know your conviction, you need to go into yourself. You need to go into what is your core value. What do you consider important? What awakens you? What brings fire to your being in that sense? And how does that fire come out through the expression of ideas? Something else that I think would deeply contribute to the way of understanding this new phase conjunction in a very visceral way is, if you know the four archetypes from the Jungian psychology, you've got the magician, right? So I encourage anybody that's interested, there's a book called The King, the Magician, the Warrior, and the Lover, right? Not in that order. And it speaks about these four archetypal expressions and developmental phases within our psyche. And the magician is the part of us, is the oracle in us. It's our capacity to really take our thoughts and ideas that are held within the soul and the spirit, and it allows it to come into manifestation. And we speak through our words, we spell. And again, Gemini is the process of spelling. So this is a very important phase of understanding that what are you spelling out to yourself? What are you spelling out to the world? I can't afford the retreat because of this. I'm unable to do that because of that. And some of these physical limitations are true, and I'm not denying that those things are true. But we've also got to be deeply mindful of the way that we value and organize and prioritize things in our lives, that we do it out of a deep-seated unconscious fear. You know, so where do we fear stepping into the unknown? Where do we fear the process of not embodying a new cycle for us that maybe challenge our comfort zone? And, you know, one of the things, as I said, with the Capricorn stuff and talking about the threshold, is Scorpio, Neptune, and Capricorn. They make a sextile to each other, right? So you've got Mars sextiling Venus, you've got Neptune sextiling Venus. Venus in Capricorn, 30-degree angles. And these sextiles between Scorpio and Pisces and connecting to Taurus, not Taurus, pardon me, Capricorn, there's an element of realizing that, life is always a consistent dance of interfacing with your limitations. So feeling where things in your life have not been there for you. So let's say you may have not had a supportive father, as an example. And so there's a huge part of your own psychological limitation of not knowing how to assert yourself, as an example, or that there was a very critical mother, and that pain of feeling inadequacy in your life is part of your limitation of breaking out of the box and feeling this need to really liberate yourself, and pushing back in that sense. So there's these limitations. And then there's the boundaries with Capricorn. Capricorn is also about how we honor the space of what we feel comfortable with. So we put a boundary in your place and say, I'm not ready for this yet. And as I said, life is always a consistent process of feeling into where the limitation is preventing you from growing and where a boundary is keeping you safe, And this has a lot to do with the responsibility or the process of Capricorn in our chart. And Mars and Neptune, or should I say Pisces and Scorpio, Mars being in Scorpio, all of these energies, those two energies speak to Capricorn and they say, where am I fearing? And where am I limited versus, what is right for me? We're always got to be consistently answering that question. And I think the Venus transit over the Saturn over here speaks to that part of us, the part of us that's trying to redefine and renegotiate what we feel comfortable with and what we are willing to say enough. Enough of the self-talk that I spell out to myself that I'm incompetent, or I'm incapable, or I'm not ready, or this is, whatever we tell ourselves to reinforce that boundary or that limitation, and step over that and say, I am present, I am here, and I'm willing to live my life. Because one of the things that's really important for us, and another archetypal expression of Capricorn, is the capacity to breathe. How many of you have explored good old Wim Hof, or the potato breathing method, or any form of breath work, or any form of breathing exercises themselves? Capricorn is so much about the ability to breathe into life and feel open. Capricorn and squaring Aries, this opportunity to step outside of our comfort zone and to breathe out and to relax and come into our space. This is Capricorn. It's where the boundaries are, where we're comfortable with, and what we're going to grow into. And when we come back and integrate, we come back out into the world, and then we come breathe in and we integrate our experiences. And this process consistently is such a profound exercise in being able to link the body's relationship to the psyche, link our relationship to the challenges that we face, because we're all within this process right now. And if there's any sign that's going to illuminate to us the limitations and the feelings of being stuck or closed down in that way, it's going to be Capricorn. So are you ready to be shaped by the world, or are you ready to shape the world, is my question to you in this full moon. And the capacity for you to shape your world, to shape the world, is dictated on how much space you are willing to take up. And if you're willing to feel that it's okay to just remain in a place and feel small and not allow yourself to grow into your strength, then that's what's going to be reflected to you. And as harsh as it might sound, in a very Capricorn way, the world and life is not going to turn to you and say, yeah, I think it's a good idea you do that. It's not going to. It's going to say, I'm non-biased. If that's what you choose to do, then that's fantastic. And that's okay. Also, no judgment on it. But just know that you can't then at the same time wish for things to change according to what you want, because of it not fitting your needs. And I think this is something that has been really, really, really confrontational for a lot of us at a very deep, deep, deep level, is our wanting for things to be correct in a way that's alignment with what our needs are at a collective level, and feeling disappointed or disjointed in not seeing that it's true that there are a lot of things in the world that don't conform to what would make us feel comfortable and cozy inside, and getting angry with it, versus seeing that there is a need for your brilliance or your truth to be shared, and to ask yourself the question, and then exist, to go out. So it's like, what can I do to contribute to bringing more of my presence to the world? And this is a time of connection. This is a time of community. This is a time of diversity and understanding. And I'm going to shift gears here a little bit in terms of the process of really, stepping into something that I consider is really, really, really important. And I'm practicing it every single day. Sometimes I'm getting it right. Sometimes I'm getting it wrong, in the sense of, well, let me redefine that, because that's the very thing I don't want to say. You see how I'm spelling it out? It's, part of the boundaries, part of the sense of what's comfortable, not comfortable, limitations, is really asking yourself, like, tolerance. We have become so intolerant of things that we just see everything as oh, it's irritating us, and so therefore we just knee-jerk reaction. And it's not always the case, and it's not happening like every single person, but I feel like this is a really, really important time right now as we sort of progress further into the this huge shift and change that is taking place for us, is tolerance. And tolerance for other people's process and experience. But the key here is tolerance through discrimination. So you can say, look, as with the planetary node of Uranus. So for those of you that don't know, the planetary node of Uranus, as in all planets have nodal axis, just like the moon has a nodal axis, south and north node. The south node of Uranus sits between 8 and 15 degrees Sagittarius, and the north node sits between 8 and 15 degrees Gemini. And as you can see, the moon is crossing over this right now. And what I mean by tolerance is, people are going to say things based on their perceptions, based on their own biases, based on their own limitations of what they have experienced and what they think is right and wrong, including me. We can become tolerant by allowing that person's presence to be there, because we're acknowledging that we would want the same, right? So we allow that space to fill into us. Okay, right, that's what's real for you right now. But that's are your fears. Those are your experiences. They belong to you. They're not mine. And that's what I meant about being real within yourself, like checking in with yourself, feeling into where you are right now in this process and saying, those are not my fears. Those are not my experiences. Those are not my truths. And so what we do is we hold tolerance for other people's experience to be whatever it is, but to not take it on board, but to just be like, look, I don't need to say anything to you. I don't need to convince you of anything. I don't need to tell you what is right or wrong. That is your place. That's fine. I can choose to interact with it I want. And there's a kind of boundary there, right? In that sense. And we kind of just really, really begin to understand each other. And understanding, I mean by that, is just like relaxing a little bit into a place of receptivity and asking the question, why do you believe? Or why do you feel so strongly about that? This is a Gemini process, peeps. Next time, just try it out. Just try it out. Like, please, I just ask you, just for the week, to just, at least in one or two conversations that you have that might be really, really difficult, just step into a space of curiosity, deep, deep curiosity. I wrote it here. The Gemini process of just being very curious and open, without any need to correct or anything of the sort. Notice when you're wanting to correct, just stop. I'm not here to correct. I'm not a guide. I'm not just, what is real for you right now? Why do you feel that it's important to say that? What is your conclusion? Why do you believe that conclusion is real for you? If this is something that you feel importance about in the conversation, versus the need to tell us, no, that's right or that's wrong. I remember when Jeffrey talked about when you have like a solar return Pluto through the 10th house, or Pluto's about to transit your 10th house, which ultimately is what we're experiencing collectively. He said that one of the things you'll become really aware of is the nature of judgments and policing, and how we just feel like the internet is a beautiful example of how we just like to police each other. We like to correct other people and police each other, and yet we have no rapport. We have no space of actually understanding the process and how it's unfolded for that person, why they believe that. And it doesn't mean that they're correct. It just means that we're holding space for everybody, including yourself, because while you're honoring your own process as important, the polarity is going, okay, well, that must be real for you, even though we might not agree, and I don't need to take it on board, and I don't need to fix it. I can just be really open to the experience and allowing that right now, this is not where I want to explore. This is not what I want to do. And so that's where you end the conversation in that sense. Or you can engage in a process of curiosity, of openness, and allowing those two polarities to be present with you. So my wish for you through this week is to ask yourself, where has there been a really difficult conversation that you've been not wanting to have? A difficult conversation with somebody, or with a friend, a brother, a sibling, whatever. And just kind of sit with a little bit of why you maybe feel that that's not a conversation to open with. And then just allow yourself to open up the dialogue with zero intention apart from practicing tolerance. The tolerance to allow yourself to know why you feel agitated by the perception that's being projected to you, and why the other person may feel that they are closed off. Because one of the things that's becoming more apparent is that as much as we are, connected through technology, we're very intolerant and disconnected in the sense of being able to know how to really communicate and feel another person. Everybody has a different road that they've walked on, and whatever it has been on that road, we don't know, and we may have not been able to react the same way. So we can't really speak on another person's behalf. But what we can do is hold space within ourselves to feel what we feel through the experience of the other. Okay? Strongly about that. I've all my notes over here, I've gone through them. I just wanted to end off with just really acknowledging the fact that anybody that has ever had their voice repressed or suppressed, or if you've never felt that you could really call on to say something that's meaningful, that's your integrity, that's your truth, this is the time to begin breaking down those fears. Challenge yourself. I mean, challenge yourself in the sense of just have, in that moment of vulnerability, when you feel like you don't want to say what you need to say, but you know you need to say it. And just be okay with the fact that just be okay with the fact of just pushing that boundary a little bit. Even if it's just this little bit, just do it. Just push the boundary of your fears a little bit more, and then come back and digest and integrate. And this is a time for speaking up. This is a time for speaking up for others if you feel it's important, and allowing yourself for a deep sense of communication to be part of you and connection. Okay? All right, community. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to listen to me, I suppose, and let me share what I feel could be important, or coming from the heart in that way. I really hope that you have an amazing week. Again, just to remind everybody that if you want to read the article, I've posted a link in the description and the comments, and that's to our website. If you feel called to, work with us in terms of readings or transformational work, or I think there's just a few spots left for metamorphosis. If you're interested in that, the transformational work of metamorphosis, that's on our website as well. I'm just trying to think what else there is. If you want to study astrology with us, there's a whole entire Raising Vibrations Astrology School that teaches evolutionary astrology all the way from the start all the way to the end. It's a whole entire 16 hours worth of deep content, plus a student group that's there as well. What else is there? Patreon, if you're interested and curious about what we do with our Patreon and support Raising Vibrations through that sense. Again, I'll just post links in the description. You can go and check that out if you feel you're curious about that, if you want to know more. That's it. That's what I feel is real for me right now. Thanks for everybody. Have an amazing week, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.